Hello everyone. So I'm coming in to actually do a really very personal IG live, which is a huge lesson that I learned last week. In fact, right now I'm actually doing the YouTube recording, and live at the same time, no makeup on, just really pure, natural, heart-to-heart sharing. Because last week was a huge lesson for me indeed. I was really coming from that space of learning to process even raging emotions of mom guilt, heartbreak, and regret, because a lot of self-criticism, a lot of lack of compassion to myself. I really was experiencing a whole host of raging emotions. I had to take out all of the emotional coaching techniques in my bag, and I was so thankful to have my mentor with me. Um, she was holding me on to with all the support, with all the love. Even though right now she's back in Vietnam having a holiday. And that was what I really appreciated so much, because I know that I'm not gonna walk through another emotional challenging time alone anymore. And the reason why I actually felt there were so many raging emotions was because I was hanging on to lots of ideals about perfect. I think perfectionism is something that is very common in everybody out there, imposter syndrome or so on. It's really how a degree of mild to really high perfectionism. But one thing that I know for sure, that when you actually choose to be imperfect, you're actually choosing to be human. And it really dawned on me that, because the whole experience about sharing, even, of course, there's some degree of anonymity and secrecy, but having to come to terms, with my son, having some mild eye issues, was something that really hit me big, because I have perfect vision. So I kept having a lot of comparison. If you are a mom or you have a parent, you will naturally have that same reaction. And I kept beating myself up of it. I was self-criticizing a lot. Like, how could I not have known this? Why did I not watch out for this earlier? Like, a lot of very emotionally charged blaming questions. Like, I went through all of it. So in case anybody who thinks that a coach doesn't go through, or see a 100K serial mompreneur doesn't go through or experience that, that's completely not true. Because I felt so vulnerable. I felt so raw. I was crying my tears out. Okay, I could not even like work for thankfully the weekend came, but I couldn't even function properly for work. Like, I was just crying out. I just felt so much emotions that I needed to release. And of course, a lot of rage, a lot of ideas about imperfection, perfection. Whether am I imposed as a parent, am I imposing the perfectionist syndrome onto him as well? And if he actually falls short, is that why I feel triggered? And that was actually something very big for me, because I thought that I did not have that. I was very conscious about the kind of parenting style that I was also doing in the midst of holding three businesses, a coaching business, insurance, and also building a networking business. I was very conscious about the kind of parenting style I was embodying to him. So it actually came as a rude shock to me that subconsciously I was actually having this perfectionist syndrome onto him. And it's not fair, right? It's not fair for a child to bear the brunt of a parent's expectations, right? A child is supposed to be going through that whole stage of having all that freedom, all that space, all that creativity. And yet subconsciously, I unknowingly did that to him. And that was what I felt very bad about. I felt so I felt so mom guilt about, the whole time. Like, I read about people talk about mom guilt, breast milk, and all that. I like, no, I don't have much of this, or like working, non-working. But when it came to this, I felt so horrible. So I was crying my tears out. I was doing lots of processing, lots of breath work, took out all the tools in my for my emotional coaching. And I realized that was because I myself was holding some perfectionist syndrome as well. Right. And when you actually do that, where you are aware or you're unaware, you will expect that from other people. And that was what it reflected on me. So I was also doing a whole host of cleaning up whether I actually had any perfectionist syndrome towards my partner, towards the household, because what I felt the week before when I actually launched my networking business was I felt stuffed to the neck. I was going for like 2-3 hour networking events, and when you actually go for 3 hour networking events, you know that there's follow up and all that, and essentially it takes up your whole morning, where morning is my precious time. And I actually felt like I was going at this very intense, fast pace. I was like, where's all this heading to? And then I realized that the perfectionist syndrome in me was playing up. She was asking to set this up fast and soon so that I can actually validate myself to, or subconsciously or unknowingly, so that I can validate myself that I was doing a good job. Okay. And then I decided that I'm going to break away from that. I'm going to break away all of these attachments, because to be perfect, especially when you want to move on to that next level, when you want to move on to that next level of having more money, about having more businesses, okay, or even if you're intending to have a second child or third child as a mother, when you're working mom or even as a stay-at-home mom, you have to be ready to be okay with chaos. Okay, take that in. Has anybody mentioned that it is okay to be chaotic? But how do you feel safe navigating the chaos? Do you feel that, oh my gosh, this is gonna burn, that business is gonna burn? Or like, oh my goodness, what happened to my kid? I'm supposed to be microing every single child. I'm supposed to be microing every milestone. Or as a leader, I'm supposed to micro my team. I'm supposed to see and attend every single meeting, right? You're gonna burn yourself out, because if you're moving on to that next level, all right, you definitely know that imperfection is gonna be there so that you know where to improve next. And it's a skill to be okay at being imperfect, right? It's so easy to be perfect and asking for perfection. All right, having this small little playing small, when you have been having this strong desire to break out and have a new business, but you're being tied to this job because you feel that it's so stable, you feel it gives you this sense of safetyness, when in actual fact you have been wanting to go into that space of entrepreneurship. But going into that space of entrepreneurship is also being imperfect. It's also learning from your mistakes. It's also making mistakes along the way. And that was what I realized that motherhood taught me. It was making mistakes along the way. And who was I to beat myself up when I am just a mother for 3 years? Why am I scolding myself as though I'm a mom for like 20 or 30 or 40 years when I myself only just had 3 years of experience, right? So it actually dawned onto me that I was in fact being way too harsh, being way too critical on myself, and that it all stemmed off from that little Miss Perfect that was playing up within me. So that was why I actually felt that, oh, I have to hold the household, I have to run the daily house, I'm perfect, I have to hold everything, and it felt stuffed to the neck. I was feeling exhausted, burnt out, even though I had just had a strong start on Monday. By Wednesday, after 2 networking events, I felt, oh my God, I have to go and sleep. So that was what I knew, that when I actually turned up at every networking event, I was thinking to myself like, oh, I gotta have the perfect name card. Oh, I gotta have my perfect pitch. I gotta have my 30-second elevator pitch. I gotta impress this every person. Yeah. And then when I actually go on my coaching business, I'm like, okay, how am I gonna post? I'm gonna have the all these posts, like I have to sit down there and actually write my posts. Okay. I have to create all that on Canva. And yet at the same time, I also wanted to launch my 60K desire free masterclass. Like you have been seeing me put on my bio from last week, that was what happened until that the burnout, until the my son's situation came up and I was going through a whole deep emotional processing, that I realized that I cannot go on this any further. And I was glad for this breakdown to happen, because if this did not happen and I carry on with this Little Miss Perfect unknowingly into my next level, I would kill myself, right? I would end up burning myself out. Like after 1 week of work of handling 3 businesses, I'm going to drive myself nuts and I'm going to burn myself to the ground. So how is it okay that learning to be imperfect is to be human? Because number one, when you choose to be imperfect, you're learning to forgive yourself and you're letting yourself be open to making mistakes. Okay, you're no longer holding yourself on this high pedestal that you have to do everything right and you have to know everything, because you have this thinking that I have to know everything, and if I don't know have to know everything, I shouldn't be here. I'm a failure. I mean, you have all these crazy notions coming up. Yay, hi to my sister. She has been knowing all these things that has been happening. So if you actually have this idea that, oh, I have to know everything, I have to do everything perfect, you're going to drive yourself crazy, because only when we accept and when we learn our mistakes, that's when we can be better. I learned a lot of things from my son experience itself, that with just knowing about my son's mild eye issue, right? It actually made me and my husband recalibrate on our parenting style. Like, is there any other areas that we can improve further? Have we been focusing too much on this area and not on this area? Like, how else can we improve? Okay, and so this is how you actually use imperfection or mistakes to actually help you be better next round, to be better than as a person. Okay, drop all these thinking and these ideas that when you make mistakes, you will have all these thoughts like, I'm not this, I'm a failure, I will lose face. Like, that is all completely ego driven, and that is what I'm absolutely committed to, that my next level 2023, I'm gonna drop ego. I'm gonna show up like with everything that I have at that moment. If that is whatever preparation I have, then so be it. And I trust that, the right client will come into my energy. I trust that the right person will come along and see my stuff and they get so fired up. And then who knows, it might sign, but they might not. But if not, it's okay. 6 months later, 1 year later, they might be ready, or they might refer me to somebody else. I never know. So when we stop trying to be perfect as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter, as a mompreneur, as a businesswoman, as a financial advisor, as a coach, or as a person generally, I allow myself to be human. I allow myself to make mistakes. And that is where I was so surprised, because when I actually went on to my best friends, we have a WhatsApp chat group. I wanted to have a whole stack of notebooks. I just gave a shout out. Does anybody have notebooks? Somebody gave me 7. You know who you are. Another person gave me, hey, I have this 2023 paper calendar. You can have it. Right? That's when we want to be abundantly supported by the people around us. And that is what I really desire for my next year, that I am no longer just going to be navigating through all of this chaos alone. I'm going to show up as my authentic self, because I know that the right support will come to me, because people resonate with me, because people feel that I'm a human, right? And that is what human connections is all about. So if you actually go on to my post, I actually wrote that my best enemy is Little Miss Perfect. I'm grateful for all that she has given me. I'm grateful for all the achievements that she has pushed me to be who I am today. But my next level is someone who loves with compassion, is someone who forgives with mistake. And that includes forgiving myself. That includes also forgiving my partner when he says something wrong. Oh my gosh, if you're watching this. Okay, I'm a words of affirmation person, so he gets it hard whenever I catch him saying the wrong things. And that also forgive myself whenever I forget something. I stop trying to come up with like, oh, I should have known this, I should have known that, I could have found out better. I stop beating myself up over it. Because when we stop doing that, that's when we allow ourselves to have support. And when we allow ourselves to have support, people will come flying to help us. People will come wanting to give more of whatever they have, resources, support, network, contacts into our energy. Right? And that is how we feel supported, and that's how we can move on doing more things, having more businesses, having more kids, having more things juggling on a daily basis, without trying to put on this front that you have to hold everything perfect. All right. So this is a really raw note that I'm sharing up here, because, and even going through the journey, motherhood, learning, and I take the great thing about me, if anybody knows, especially my friends, is that they know that I take learning very seriously. So I always take an opportunity for any learning moments, whether is it through my son, or through my relationship, or whether through with my clients, even helping them go through their challenges is like going through the challenge myself. And for me, I think that has been the greatest attribute that has helped me dramatically this year. If I can really look back on 2022, is that I have been fully supported by a very, very well-guided mentor, my own community as well. being open to being supported by people, knowing that I don't have to carry all this burden on my shoulders, and that at the end of the day, I'm not the one to decide. In fact, none of us out there are the one to decide what our path is going to take, because eventually it's all up to that higher being, whatever faith that you have. Having faith really drives you through incredible challenges and moments when you felt that when everything has been lost, when you felt that you have lost everything. Faith is what keeps you going. So for me, honestly, like if I look back on 2022, it is the fact that I started investing in myself. I started having a belief that I can be much bigger than who I thought I was. It's also being open to receiving support from the people around me, and that was why I actually jumped into the networking business community, because I wanted to feel support. I wanted to feel connections. I wanted to feel that having help is so easy, and all you have to do is ask and you shall receive. So that's one of the key reasons why I chose, and I know that the networking business is a right step for me, because I get to practice this ask and it shall be given. That right now, like whenever I go outside, I just get everything my way. Like it's just incredible. And of course, it's this very strong learning attitude that even through my son's experience, like I never let any learning moment go to waste. I never let it just bypass me and just thinking that it will, because guess what? Universe will keep knocking that same lesson on you time and time again until you learn what you have to, right? Because we're all here to learn a certain lesson. And if you don't learn it, essentially you will have another breakdown. Like, why do you want to go through many pains, right? Why not just take that the first breakdown, learn it and move on, so that you know how you can show up better the next round. So for me, definitely it's about showing up to be a imperfect entrepreneur, an imperfect daughter, imperfect wife, imperfect mother, even, because when I choose to be imperfect, I'm letting myself be human, and I'm letting myself make mistakes, so that and I will learn it for the next round. Okay, so I hope this sends a wonderful message to any of you. If you've been looking at my feed, you've been watching me for a while, you're wondering like, oh my gosh, how does this girl do it? It's really about authenticity. It's really about genuinity. It's really about connections. And I trust that when we actually allow ourselves to receive love, in fact, the more we receive, the more we feel supported, and the more we're able to give to everyone else around us, the community or whoever else that we meet, and our families as well. All right, thank you. Bye bye.